Welcome to Attenuation, a weekly podcast where two friends come together to drink beer, discuss beer styles and trends, and just generally ruminate on the meaning of life, aka beer. If you enjoy your time with us, we invite you to become a weekly listener and subscribe to the podcast. Without further ado, here is this week's episode.
Hello, and welcome to episode 66 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Stephen.
Hello.
How are you doing, sir?
Good. Welcome back.
Yeah, we missed a week. You were on an epic adventure.
Yeah, feels like it's been way too long though.
It feels longer, doesn't it?
Yeah, 2 weeks when you usually do it every week is like an eternity.
Are you ready to drink beer, talk about beer, and make me incredibly jealous?
Definitely.
Okay. Today's topic is New York trip report because Steven went to New York and he got to hit up a bunch of really cool breweries, and I have not heard about his trip yet, at least that aspect of it, so I'm very excited to hear.
You get real life reactions.
Yeah.
Jason.
But before we get to any of that, we have to do our favorite part of the podcast, which is drinking beer. So how this works is, I introduce my beer, give some notes. Steven does the same, and then we taste and give tasting notes.
What you got for us today?
Today, I am drinking from Revolution Brewing, Vanilla Deth.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so I think I had their cherry one.
Yeah, Death by Cherries or whatever.
Death by Cherries, yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw this vanilla one. I wanted to try it because I really liked the cherry one. So this is a Russian Imperial Stout. It's 13.6%, and they do age it.
Nice.
It's barrel aged. Yeah. But luckily, it's just this regular can size. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is a school night for me.
Ooh, that is thick.
This is a thick boy.
THICC thick. Right.
Yeah, and it looks like tar in the glass. There was maybe a moment of carbonation, and it's already gone. This smells, well, first of all, it smells a lot of vanilla, but just really dark fruits, plum, and that super thick malt. Definitely getting a little bit of the wood notes, and then chocolate, coffee, but primarily vanilla, I guess, as you would expect. Okay, cool.
No, the original base for this is Death's Tar, I think is what it's called.
Yes, I think that's correct. That's
okay.
the base, and then they
and then they do all these iterations of it.
Yeah, so it's an oatmeal stout. That's the base one. Yep, you're correct. It's called Death's Tar. And then for this one, they basically put in hand split whole vanilla beans, and then they aged it. So they basically made a vanilla version of Death's Tar.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm excited, but I'll wait for you to introduce yours.
All right, so mine is from New York. It's from Grimm Brewing. Grimm Artisan Ales, I think, is the name of the brewery. It's in Brooklyn. A little trivia. Can you name the 5 boroughs of New York City?
Oh my gosh. Manhattan.
Yeah.
I
just gave you a clue of another one.
Why? If anyone lives in New York, they're never not listening to this again. Brooklyn. Is Staten Island a borough?
It is. That's 3.
Is Harlem a borough?
No, that's a neighborhood in Manhattan.
Oh, dang it. I don't know. New York can disown me. I could probably name them if you didn't put me on the spot.
Queens.
Oh, yeah, Queens.
And the Bronx.
Okay.
Queens, Bronx, Staten Island, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. Those are the 5 boroughs of New York City.
Nice. Okay, very good.
So this one's from Brooklyn. It's called Supernature. It is a spontaneous ale with coriander and sea salt.
Ooh,
so,
I like that.
I think this should be Goza-ish. That's why I picked this. It doesn't specifically call it a Goza, but
now, did you get this on your trip?
Yes. Yep.
Nice.
And it made it back safely with a lot of careful packing in my suitcase. Oh yeah, got that nice earthy funk smell you want in your spontaneous sours. A little bit of like lemon and grass. Coriander's definitely coming through, just like a, I don't know, kind of like a spicy note to it, like a pepper note. Yeah, definitely a lot of like lemon, lime, citrus, like really, really, really bright citrus coming off of it. So okay, excited.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, this is a big brew. It's really good. It's sweet in the entrance. There's like vanilla. It almost tastes like milk chocolate. That's how sweet it is. And then caramel. And then kind of in the development and the finish, it kind of goes to you get the bourbon, oak, dark fruits, plum. And then there is a little bit of a flash of alcohol heat near the end. It's fine. I don't mind. It's like kind of fits in. And then it's just very thick. It's a thick one. So. But no, it's
oatmeal giving it some thickness. Huh?
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, it's a thick brew, but it's really good. It's kind of I like the cherry one better only because cherry is my favorite adjunct flavor. But vanilla is probably a close second, and they did a good job. Like the vanilla's, it's present. You definitely know this is like a vanilla beer, but it's not. You still get all the other flavors of the Imperial Stout. So.
Cool. Well, I just realized I did not give any like details on my pour or anything because I was busy testing you on the boroughs of New York City.
Yeah, I was failing. I got 3 of 5.
Yeah.
That's a D.
Yeah, that's not bad. You know, there's a test that you have to take to get licensed to be any sort of tour guide in New York. There's like a whole testing process you have to go through, the tour guide test. And it's 150 questions, and you only have to get 98 right, which I think is like a 65%. So yeah,
so
you can have some really,
short.
really crappy tour guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
only
imagine
scored 65.
you had a tour guide and he only knew only 65% of the things he said were correct.
Yeah.
He's like, that building right there is the tallest building in the world.
Sure. So anyway, this is the Grimm Supernature. It is very, very pale yellow, a little hint of like orange, but very like straw colored. It had a very quick fizzy head that dissipated quickly. It's a 6% ABV. It's weird. Like it's got a lot of saison vibes going on here, where it's like it smells really, really good, and then like does not taste as good as it smells.
Do you think that's from the spontaneous fermentation? Is where you're getting that kind of?
I'm not sure. I think maybe the coriander is just too strong.
Okay.
Like it's just very, very peppery. It's just slightly citrusy and slightly tart, but not any sort of sour that, I like. And then it's just peppery, and then like finishes very dry and sort of vinegary, like a harsh vinegar though.
Ooh, okay.
Like where it kind of like burns your throat a little bit. Yeah, I wish it tasted more like it smelled, because it smells really, really good.
Yeah.
This is kind of a loser for me.
Oh no, thumbs down.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes though, like where you absolutely love the nose, but you don't really like the taste.
Like the nose is bomb on this.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it smells like beatification.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's what it smells like, but it doesn't taste like beatification. And that is so disappointing. That is like, yeah.
It's a tease.
About as sad as it gets right there. Because you think you know what you're getting with the nose, and it doesn't come through. But yeah,
All right. Well, one thumbs up, one thumbs down.
Yeah, it was definitely mine was a wild card for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's all about trying new stuff, and
yeah,
it's good you're branching out.
So I was under a lot of pressure.
Why's that?
At Grimm, because it was pouring down rain. There was no indoor seating or really outdoor seating because it was pouring down rain.
Oh no.
So I basically was just in there with like the rest of my family huddled under shelter. It was just me in the brewery quickly deciding like what to get to go, because I wasn't gonna like drink anything on site. And so I just like quickly looked at the menu and was like, okay, this and this, and didn't try anything. Right?
Gotcha. So you're rained out.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. So that was our drinking beer segment. And next we have postscripts and beer news. Postscripts are when we correct or add to items from previous episodes, and beer news is beer news. So I don't think we have any postscripts today, but we do have 2 items of quite interesting beer news.
Yes. Well, the first kind of happened while we were off. In fact, I was scrolling Instagram while I was in New York City on the subway, and I saw that Sapporo had purchased Stone Brewing in San Diego.
Yeah, you texted me.
Yeah, I was like, big news, another one bites the dust. But I don't know. This is a super interesting story, actually. More interesting than our sort of regular, like, yeah, another big brewery sells to a big beverage conglomerate, whatever. But Greg Koch, who is the founder of Stone Brewing, is like on record a long time ago saying, like, calling other breweries sellouts and saying that they would never do that. And apparently you should just never say never.
Everyone has a price, Steven.
Yeah, so it came as a pretty big surprise for the employees. There was people from Sapporo that I guess visited the site multiple times, the brewery multiple times, and employees were told that it was, they were just looking for like a contract brewing facility so that like they might start brewing some of Sapporo's beer for them, but like nothing about actually being sold to them.
Also, like Sapporo needs extra like brewing capacity, right?
Well, it is actually one of the reasons they wanted to buy Stone, is because they can start brewing their beer immediately in Stone's facilities, and they brew facilities on both coasts, both in San Diego and I think Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, okay, actually, that does make sense now that I think about it. From like a logistics standpoint, they can have their beer brewed in the U.S., saves them a ton on shipping, and they get more distribution. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the benefit they get from buying Stone. Stone obviously gets some financial help, which I believe they needed. So it's interesting is like, I guess they had sort of a tumultuous year last year, like everybody did, I guess, but they sort of went through this big regime change. The CEO stepped down, and the CEO that took over was actually the same CEO that took over at Lagunitas and oversaw their sale to Heineken. So a lot of people like saw the writing on the wall, like, oh, are we bringing her in here to oversee another sale? And that's exactly what happened. So
the writing was a little bit on the wall, and in retrospect, some of that stuff becomes like so obvious, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. They bought Stone for $165 million, so not $1 billion.
Dang, breweries aren't worth what they were.
I know, right?
Like, I think that is, well, obviously, I don't know like the relative sizes, but that is pretty interesting. That
Breweries
it's like
depreciating more than your used cars these days.
I guess so, yeah. And I do feel like I feel like when Lagunitas got bought, we were kind of still on like the upswing of the craft brew universe, and now maybe this is a sign that the market's like saturated. So that's still obviously a big paycheck, but
yeah,
$1 billion is $165 million. It's a big difference.
So to put that in context, that's about $505 per barrel of beer production for the company.
Do you have that same calculation for like the Lagunitas purchase?
So I don't have the Lagunitas, but when Boston Beer Company merged with Dogfish Head, they paid $1,100 per barrel of Dogfish Head production. And then I think we talked about Monster Energy buying the Canarchy Craft Brewery Collective. They spent about $660 per barrel.
I love that metric. That's interesting. Okay, let's postscript. We'll do the calculation for Lagunitas. It reminds me of like when you sell your house and they're like, it's the price per square foot. Yeah.
Which always seems weird to me because, I don't know, it's like it's so detached. The price of the home is so detached from like the square footage of the home, right? Like it doesn't really have much to do with like a lot of it is so much of it is location and like it doesn't you can buy.
Well, I feel like number of bedrooms. Like I know we're going so off topic, but
yeah, it's okay.
I think some of the advice realtors will give you is like buy as many bedrooms as you can because that number is like very appealing to people. Mm-hmm. But like in my pretty modern house, it's not like a really good reflection because the bedrooms are so tiny. Like they make the master really big and then the bedroom's really tiny. So I don't know. It's like,
that's always what I used to look at is like, look, if I'm buying a 2,000 square foot house that's like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, like either the bedrooms are huge or the like living space and kitchen are huge, right? So I just like always felt like that was more appealing, like a huge floor plan with fewer breakups of that space. I always thought that was more appealing than having more bedrooms, but.
Yeah, I just think raw square footage is a kind of a weird metric.
For sure.
But that's how they measure. I think because it's kind of a universal, you can divide everything down to it's kind of the same thing with like price per barrel. It's like a universal metric. So that's interesting.
Well, and the thing is too, like what we're talking about, one of Sapporo's advantages in acquiring Stone is they get beer production ability, and so it's like, what is your price for that, right? So you have a production capacity. What are you willing to pay per barrel of production to get that?
Right, and especially like if you're expanding into a new market, you could do a calculation where you're figuring out like, well, what's my price per barrel production where I have facilities now, but then you got to add like transportation and stuff like that. So if you're producing it here and you want to distribute it here, you're making up that difference probably.
Yeah. So anyway, it's an interesting sale because, like I said, Stone had sort of always presented itself as one of those breweries that would never sell out, and they did.
Well, and I feel like probably it's a little unfair. I would give them a little leeway because I think, going through like the pandemic and stuff, I don't think no one really saw that coming, and that kind of changed. I think that really affected a lot of breweries, so especially California breweries. So maybe that changed kind of how they felt about the whole business, or there's a million reasons, but I don't blame anyone for selling out. I couldn't say no to a $165 million check.
Yeah. Apparently, like, he was a very, like I said, sort of loud critic of brewery sellouts. He called them cash grabs. In some of his statements surrounding the sale, he said he's still a supporter of independent craft beer, but he has softened his rigidity around this subject in recent years. So,
you know what they say, Steven? You either die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain.
Yeah, he lived too long, I guess.
He lived too long. That's great. But that is crazy because Stone, that's a big brewery, like just in the whole scene. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But we should do a deep dive on Stone.
Yeah. The other thing he wrote was, in 1996, I dreamed of a world where people had better options and lots of them, but I never dared to dream there would be nearly 10,000 breweries in the United States. And
yeah, I don't think people saw that coming either, like just how saturated the market has become.
Yeah, and he always considered independent craft beer as the perennial underdog of the beer industry, and then it just isn't now.
It's a monster now. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I think we did a whole episode about this issue, and I think my stance has always been, I think it's a little silly. I think it's silly when people get so upset or start refusing to buy the beer, although, you spend your money where you want to spend it and support who you want to support. That's fine. I just think the overreaction is dying down and has been dying down because it's like a non-issue now. I just think it's going to happen, and you can continue to support them or not, or what. Honestly, I haven't bought a Stone beer in a long time. So.
Yeah, I haven't either, to be honest. I mean, I think it was like an important gateway, and I really used to like Stone a lot. Yeah. But I don't buy Stone anymore. The only thing I worry about is like, I think I do worry about like the employees. Like when you sell to a massive corporation like that, I think employee benefit, like they're going to strip all that away, right? So if you have this like, one of the things I admire about, some of the independently owned craft breweries is like they actually take care of their employees. And like, obviously I don't know how Sapporo is going to treat their employees, but if I had to guess, it's not great. So that's the unfortunate side. And that's the part that's like a little bit, I think that's what sours people to supporting, supporting the business, at least for me. I don't know. Maybe that's that's not how everyone feels, but there is something nice about like when the company is like taking care of their employees. It feels good to support them because you're supporting their staff like through that support. So
I agree, but as the world goes, and I do think like what you're seeing, interestingly enough, is that you do have all these large breweries, Lagunitas, that kind of Ballast Point. They're all I think Lagunitas, Ballast Point, and Stone are all very similar. They're this craft beer startups that really grew to be very large. I mean, you can get these in every single grocery store all across the United States. I mean, the distribution of these beers is almost as good as the macro style. I mean, all these beers are right there alongside the macro styles, very, very readily available for anyone. I guess, is it really that hard to believe that they would just merge with a lot of these like macro companies? You know what I mean? Like, I just think, I don't know, there wasn't that much separating them anyway.
Right, they've already grown to a point where they're like nationally distributed. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. It doesn't really surprise me at this point because now you just have more of this divide between these like big breweries that are they have these a few big flagship beers that they're just constantly producing and are available everywhere, and then you have these other craft tap rooms that are just basically stay local, and the taps are constantly changing and evolving. They maybe have one or two flagships, but they're constantly making different beers. I don't know. It's just like the two worlds. So
yeah, it is incredible to think like how big some of these what basically started as a one location, like brewery have grown into these massive companies. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Cool. So then the other thing I wanted to talk about, this is something really cool that Russian River does every year. They have the big 2-week long Pliny the Younger release, and they collect a lot of data about who's coming to the release and where they stayed and all that stuff, and they compile all this data, and they use the data to kind of create a profile of the economic impact of the Pliny the Younger release on the sort of that greater Santa Rosa, Windsor area. And I think, it's just to their benefit to sort of give this information out into the community to say, like, this event that we hold every year is important to the community. It provides spending and economic activity in that area beyond just what they're making at the brewery. So,
do you have those numbers? Because
I do.
I love data.
Yeah. Okay. So 40,000 bottles of Pliny the Younger were produced. This was the 18th annual Pliny the Younger release. This was
only 18 years.
Yeah, this was the third time they bottled it. 40,000 bottles were produced. All of those were sold within the 2-week period. They sold out. Total economic impact, they say, is $6.1 million for the area.
Okay.
That's 20% higher than it was last year. So the visitor totals, there was 2.6 people was the average group size that day, each day. On average, $299 was spent per person.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Just at the brewery?
Yeah.
Dang, they raked it in.
So that's food, beer, merchandise. That totally makes sense. That's probably what I spent.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating.
Yeah. There were 11,982 visitors to the Santa Rosa location and 11,715 visitors to the Windsor location. So 23,000, almost 24,000 visitors total to between the two sites. 98% of those people said that they would attend again in the future.
You know what 24,000 times 299 is?
What?
7.1 million, baby.
Well, there you go.
Okay, sorry, carry on.
Airfare and lodging. So $578 was the average spent on airfare. $548 was the average spent on lodging. 42 states from the United States were represented at the Russian River release. And then there's just like spending per industry. So there's like a pie chart of like 79% of the spending was on accommodations and food. Transportation was the next big. Retail was the next big chunk, and other was the other chunk. So
do they have any breakdown about like what percentage of people were local versus what percentage of people flew in?
Mm-mm.
That's crazy though. 42 states were represented.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird beer nerds, Steven, that fly around to go try beer.
Yeah. The states that weren't represented were like Oklahoma, Arkansas. I have to know my states. Michigan wasn't represented. That's kind of surprising.
Yo, Michigan, what up? You guys like beer?
Wait, hold on. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's not Michigan. Maybe that's Wisconsin. Michigan looks like a mitten, right?
Yeah, it looks like a glove, like a hand.
Okay, it's not Michigan. It's right to the left of Michigan. That's Wisconsin.
Ooh, I get to test you now.
Yeah, I don't know my United States geography. Sorry.
You know, in Michigan, you can just do this. You guys can't see, but we're on camera.
Yeah.
The UP and they call it the UP, the Upper Peninsula.
Yeah, I know the UP. I've never been there, but I know about it. I heard it's beautiful up there too. Okay, so I think that's Wisconsin. And
you know, I know when Wisconsin went.
Because
they're all just drinking New Glarus.
Yeah, they don't need to leave that state. South Dakota, What's the
They were
I'm
busy
so
looking
bad
at
at
Mount
this.
Rushmore.
What is that square state just south of like Montana?
Oh, I don't know. There's like 4 squares right in the
Yeah,
middle.
like Colorado, but it's north of Colorado. What state is that? Why am I so bad at United States geography? And why did they put the names of the states on this map?
You're looking at a bad map. So wait, what are you looking for? Where are we where are we
State
at?
above Colorado, northern
It's
Colorado.
Wyoming.
Oh, that's Wyoming.
I think so, yeah, right above Colorado. And like Utah is kind of right
Yeah,
there too.
right. It goes into that corner of
And then
Utah.
above, yeah, Wyoming.
Oh, that's Wyoming. Oh.
Okay,
Yeah.
I lost all our New York listeners and you just lost all our Wyoming listeners.
I'm gonna start calling Wyoming like the other square state.
The other square, yeah.
Because I recognize Colorado.
The other square. That's really funny, dude. Oh. It's like the other red. What do they call it? The other white meat or whatever.
Yeah.
The other square state.
You know what? I have no reservation making fun of Wyoming and the Dakotas and the Nebraska, all those states, because they get represented. They get 2 senators in Congress each, and they
Based
have
off,
like
no
10
population.
people.
Yeah.
So
All right, we can
anyway,
rag on
I don't
them
feel
for
bad
that.
for them.
Okay.
And there's some other weird shaped state on the East Coast that was not represented.
Oh, don't test me on my East Coast. We've already seen that my East Coast is bad.
Hey, the 5 I probably only know those because I was just there. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, the East Coast. The problem with the East Coast has all those mini states.
Yeah.
That are like as big as a city.
Oh, West Virginia. Oh, that's West Virginia? That's so weird. Okay. West Virginia is a lot farther north than I think it is. It's like way up by Ohio.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
All right. Whew. Sorry. West Virginia.
You're fine. I don't know any of these states. Well, I know Ohio, Indiana, because I lived in Michigan, but...
Yeah. Yeah, so Arkansas, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Wyoming, Wisconsin, and West Virginia. Those are the states that were not represented. Oh, there's another little one. Connecticut was not represented. Also, that's one of those little tiny ones you can't see.
Yeah, Connecticut is a tiny state. Well, not as tiny as like Rhode Island, but yeah, these are tiny states. Especially you're from Texas. Your state is as big as like
the biggest.
all those states
combined.
Put together.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, that's the economic impact of the Pliny the Younger release. I think it's really cool that they sort of compile that data every year and
cool.
Show off a little bit.
Well, yeah, and I would have never guessed that 42 states made it out there. That's pretty crazy.
And I think they have some international travel too. Honestly.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. A lot of weird beer nerds in the world.
A lot of them.
Our people, Steven.
Our people. Did you notice I'm drinking a different beer now?
Oh, did you give up on that one?
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I
What
drank
are you
a little
drinking
bit
now?
more, but I'm drinking Creek from Une Ane. They're the ones. So Hubbard's Cave is they make like El Zacaton.
Yeah, they make a bunch of really good.
It's 2 sides of the same brewery. Une Ane is like I think they do like the sour side, and then maybe sours and IPAs, and then Hubbard's Cave does the stouts on the other side. So
nice.
It's good. I've had it a couple times before. It's cherry, all cherry.
I love cherry.
Yeah.
All right, so do you want to get into the main topic and tell me all about your cool New York beer adventures, and I can be jealous?
All right. So actually, you know what? I'll start out back home because the weekend before we left was Father's Day, and my wife and kids so graciously decided to let me go to Jester King and do a tour, even though they were going to be bored the whole time. But no, it was really fun. Jester King's a great brewery. It's outdoors. It's like all outdoors, and it's like 100 degrees here. So we were driving there, assuming we were going to be pretty miserable. But we got there. We checked into the tour. We grabbed a couple beers, and then the tour started. And it's just really cool because it's not that big of a brew facility. It's pretty small actually. And past their fermenters and brew facility, they have this big barrel room, and it is musty in there. I mean,
ooh, I bet it smells awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's air conditioned. That was the nice part of the tour. It's temperature controlled in there, but yeah, it smells like a barn. A lot of like sort of horse blanket manure.
Oh, never mind. I would not like that smell.
Yeah, I mean it was like pleasantly unpleasant.
Okay. And that's where they're aging everything?
Yeah. So
Super
everything goes
cool.
into those barrels, and they don't move. All the barrels are stationary.
Oh, really?
Yep. They do not move them around. They just fill and refill the same
Fill and refill?
barrels.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Apparently they fill them with water if they're not filled with beer. That
Oh,
keeps them from
okay.
drying out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There were two different stories of this barrel room. So there's some barrels upstairs, and they literally just have like hoses running up there, and they just like move the hoses and fill the barrels. And it's very messy. Like sometimes they'll pull the cork on the barrel to get a taste of the beer, and some will spill down onto the floor and down
And they put
down
like the cork right back in.
yeah, down through the cracks, and it'll fall in the other barrels. Like it's a mess in there. Like it's gross, but like that's the whole. It's just like this
I kind
living
of love
organism.
that. It's like
Yeah,
chaos. Yeah.
yeah. And then they have these two big. I don't know if we've ever really talked about these, but fooders. Fooders are basically just huge wood barrels that they use for aging beers. If you ever see that sort of like big upright barrel, and these are like huge. I'm not talking about like a barrel you would roll, like a huge barrel.
Stationary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are called fooders. And it was really interesting because she was saying that, they'll get, every once in a while, they'll get like an infection of a bad bacteria like Pediococcus in a beer. And if they like take that out and they throw it in the fooder, like the fooder is the sort of, it's like the healing place, because you can just like put it in there and give it some time, let like other bacteria outcompete the bad bacteria, and it will like clean itself up.
Nature is healing.
Yeah. So they don't, like she said, they don't end up like throwing out a lot of stuff. Like they do sometimes because stuff just doesn't work or goes bad or whatever. But they said the fooders kind of can fix a lot of like different mistakes and infections and stuff. So
Huh, I did not know that. That's really fascinating.
yeah. And a lot of what they do is just blending. They just blend different years and different barrels and stuff to like make the end product. Beers like atrial rubicite that we had, the one that is like re-fermented on raspberries. That one's interesting because same kind of thing. Like they're blending to get a beer, but they have an end goal in mind. Because they're trying to make that beer. Obviously, it's going to be slightly different every year, but they're trying to make like a pretty consistent product with atrial rubicite. So that one they're blending to like create the exact flavor profile that they want to create. So
The people that do that blow my mind. Scotch is the same way. Like where, if they're going to put out a whatever 12-year-old, they got to use a bunch of casks to blend. But, your inventory of casks is constantly changing. So every year you still want to make a consistent product, but you got to like recreate it from these changing base materials. It's crazy.
Yeah, she talked about how the barrel manager like knows and like talks to the barrels and is like knows them personally and knows when
Yes. There's a really good Scotch documentary, and they interviewed like the same guy, like the barrel master, the mixing master, and he even said like, oh yeah, there's a couple back there that are like so good that I don't even tell anyone about them. They're just for like my own personal consumption.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like a couple barrels they call the twins. They're like prized barrels that just always produce really good beer. And yeah, super interesting.
It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then tucked up way up in the corner of this barrel room was the cool ship. Not even close to as fancy as the one at Russian River. It looked like
That
a cool
Russian
ship
River
that I
cool-
would
Yeah,
build
like in your
and put
garage.
together.
The Russian River cool ship is like legit one of my favorite places on earth. Like it's so cool.
Yeah. But even this one had a nice little like sort of rounded ceiling over it that was all untreated wood, so that bacteria just hangs out up in there.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So they have like they want it to get like infected over the years. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And even like every person that comes on the tour like imparts some sort of,
Yeah.
part of them into the beer. So yeah, very interesting.
It's true.
Yep. So that was cool. And, they're just very all about like using Texas terroir, like Texas water. They do not manipulate their water at all, ever.
I love that.
It's the Texas well water and that's it.
I love they do that.
And they just try to use local ingredients, local malts, local fruits, all that stuff. So
see, we haven't even left your state and I'm already jealous.
Well, I did pick you up. Oh, I can't even remember what it's called. I'm so bad, but it's
It's cherries.
It's It's Montmorency versus Balaton.
You know me well.
Yeah, it's two different varieties of cherries we fermented. It's basically it's 100 on a Beer Advocate too. It's the
It's my dream.
it's
Dude.
the cherry version of Atrial rubicite. Basically.
Yes.
My wife's coming out there.
Oh, okay.
First week of August, so you'll get a birthday present.
Oh, it's my birthday. I gotta come visit you, and then we gotta. I'm gonna drag you along to do that tour again.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, in a heartbeat. There's a great brewery just down. So we were so hot after the tour, we needed to get food. And Jester King has food, but again, it was just so hot out there. We drove 2 minutes down the road. I didn't even realize, like within walking distance, is another brewery called Beerberg, and they have a really nice like indoor facility, great food, great desserts. Like it's just a really cool place, and the service was awesome, and the beer was really good too. So we went there afterwards.
Nice.
So a couple great breweries before we even left for New York City. But Tuesday morning we left for New York. I love the city. I just love that city life. I don't know about you, but
I hate it. Okay, I love visiting, but I can never live in the city like that. Yeah. It's too much. It would overwhelm me. But visiting is fun. Like short spurts of it, I love it.
Yeah, I think if I had a lot of money, New York would be fun to live in because you kind of like you have to have like a driver. You know, like you need a
owning a car in that city would be a nightmare.
Yeah, and like the subways are great. The public transportation is amazing. That's one of the things I love about it is it's like this great combination of the public transportation, but you still have to walk a lot. Like my kids were getting 25,000 steps on their Fitbit during this a day.
Yeah, that's trip. Awesome.
Like we were just walking a ton because you just have to, because no matter what, you got to walk a couple blocks to catch your subway or whatever, you know. So if I was going to live there, it would be nice to like have a car available.
You're like, it's only so the public transportation is only so good.
Yeah, like it's great. It really is great. It's limited sometimes. Yeah, and of course, just like rent there is so impossibly expensive. But
you gotta have it's an expensive place to live. Well, I live in California, but New York is also very expensive.
But I think Brooklyn would be cool. Brooklyn, you know, like go out into like living like right in Manhattan. I think that sounds overwhelming. Something like I wish, you know, you look back and like, oh, it would have been really cool to do when I was like in my 20s.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like it is a very alive city.
It's the midlife crisis. You're realizing you wasted your 20s.
Yeah. But it was really fun to do with my kids. My kids hadn't really been to like a really big city like that, and so it's just cool to see it through their eyes because they're looking up at like all the you know video billboards in Times Square, just like amazed by all
Times Square is wild.
It's like overstimulation.
We actually went to New York in 2000.
Yeah.
You and I did, and it was a completely different universe then. And we went to Times Square, and if you look at Times Square pictures, like from now, 2022 to 2000, it's a completely different universe. It's so crazy what it looks like.
I almost didn't even realize I was in Times Square. It seemed to look like it looked different to me. It just had a different look, but yeah, it's incredible. Like it's so overstimulating, all the ads and stuff there.
It's too much. I'm gonna sound like a Luddite and old man, but I prefer the way it was before.
Yeah. It's very overwhelming, but we actually went to this really cool museum called Rise New York. You're a big Disney fan, so you've done like soaring over the world.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone's ever done this ride, I've done it. It used to be Soaring Over California in California Adventure in LA's Disneyland, and then they changed it to Soaring Over the World.
And they upgraded it from standard definition to HD. It was ST for too long.
Yeah, they upgraded. But one of the cool things is, so basically you're sitting in this seat in front of this huge, massive screen that takes up your whole visual space, and then it makes it feel like you're flying over all these areas. And one of the cool things is like you would fly over the orange groves in California, and they would pump all these different smells, so you'd like start to smell the oranges as you flew over the orange groves and all this stuff. So anyway, they switched it to Soaring Over the World. It's really cool. It's a really cool ride. Well, this Rise New York museum had all these, you went through all these steps of like all the different things that New York has had influence over, like fashion and TV and music and movies and stuff. And then you came to the end, which was this soaring over New York ride essentially.
Okay.
And it was really cool. I mean, it's just as good as the Disneyland ride, and you got to
Nice.
soar over all the different parts of New York and around the Statue of Liberty and stuff. So that was a really cool museum. If you're ever in New York, check it out because it's like, I don't know, it's sort of, it's pretty close to Times Square. It's just, I don't think a lot of people know about it. I think
I
it's
haven't heard
newer.
about that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
it's really cool. Found out about that on TikTok. So
Ah,
you think
nice.
TikTok's not useful? It actually kind of is. We got to
You're
get on
way
the
more.
TikTok. We need the Attenuation Podcast TikTok channel. I
Wow.
don't. I
I
suck
don't
at
do.
posting content. So.
We can't even do Instagram. We can't do TikTok. That's like the whole nother level. You got to get your kids to figure that out for us.
You know, we had this older woman come up to my table at in the cafeteria at lunch, and she needed help scanning the QR code or whatever. She didn't know how to like scan it with her phone. So my coworker was like showing her how to scan it and click the link, and then we like we all sort of started wondering like, what is the thing that gonna be that we don't understand how to do like when we're older? It's like, well, you don't really know, but I already know I don't know how to do TikTok.
Yeah. I try to stay. I like swore to myself when I was like 30, I'm going to stay as relevant with technology as I possibly can. And in certain extents I am, but I don't have TikTok and I don't super understand it. I kind of know it's like Vines, right? Like remember Vines were like those short videos and then that died and TikTok kind of replaced it.
It's not that I don't know what it is, like, and I love TikTok. Like I can watch TikTok for hours. Like some of the content is just so funny. Some of it's terrible, but some of
Do you
it's
have it on
so
your
funny.
phone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't even have it yet. So
Yeah. So I have it. Like I do enjoy TikTok, and you can like learn a lot of cool stuff. And again, like you can like just search things to do in New York, and there's a million TikToks of people being like, here's 5 things to do on your trip to New York, and they'll just show you. It's really cool. You can learn a lot of stuff. But anyway, I don't know how to make a TikTok.
oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
You know, like
Yeah.
these people make great content. I was like, I don't even know how they do that. So anyway, TikTok. That's the thing I would have to ask a young person how to do.
Yeah. There's not going to be a attenuation TikTok anytime soon.
So anyway, let's actually talk about beer now. So one of the longtime staples of New York now is Brooklyn Lager. Brooklyn Brewery. We've done a deep dive on them. This was their sort of first flagship beer, one of the very early sort of popular craft beers in the United States. But it's nice because it's everywhere. And if you don't know what to get somewhere, or you're at like a game or someplace where they don't have a ton of craft beer, they always have Brooklyn Lager. So
Yeah.
there were multiple times during the trip where I just ordered that. And you're just drinking out of the bottle lots of times. Right, like it's not a beer you have to sit with or anything. It's just a nice sort of like crispy lager with a little bit of like some fruity esters to it that make it really nice to drink, and it's just a great beer. So Brooklyn Lager was kind of my staple during the whole trip when I was out in different places that didn't have a lot of selection. So we went to a tap house for dinner. They had a bunch of cool stuff on tap. They had other half on tap. One of their flagships is called Green City, and it's kind of the beer like everybody knows from Other Half, and it's the one you can get on tap pretty frequently in different places in New York. But it's like, I don't know, if you're gonna drink Other Half beer and you're in New York, like just try something else, right? Because
Okay. Yeah.
you can always get Green City. So anyway, we were at this tap house and they had a single cut beer, which was another brewery in New York. They're in Queens. I knew I was not going to get up to that brewery to visit, so I got their beer on tap. I got their 18-watt IPA. It was great. Kind of a dank mandarin orange flavored IPA. But very good. And I've had a few things from Single Cut on Tavor as well. I think all IPAs, but yeah, everything was fantastic from them. So that was really good. And then I actually got to Other Half. They have a tap room now in Rockefeller Center. So that was nice because it was just a lot easier. There's tons of cool shopping in Rockefeller Center. They have a huge Nintendo store. They have a huge...
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it was fun. They have a big American Girl store. I have
Is
2
that still a
girls,
thing?
so oh yeah, it's definitely
The
a thing.
little dolls?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
huge.
wow. My sisters were into that like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow, it's still a thing, huh? That's crazy.
Yeah, so the American Girl store is pretty overwhelming. If you if you wanted to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you can like buy a new doll, get them outfit, then you can you can get the outfit for the kid that matches, and then you can like both get the kids and the doll's hair done in the salon. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But yeah, just a lot of cool shopping around that area. The big FAO Schwartz is in that area, the toy store, which is
Oh, cool.
such a cool toy store, man. Like,
Isn't it like 6 stories or something like that?
I think it was only 3.
Oh, okay. Still, that's crazy for a
Yeah.
toy store. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool because there's just so many toy demos going on. Like they're flying drones above you and demoing those things, and they're throwing these like boomerangs, and there's just like constant toy
Yeah,
demos going
that
on
sounds
around
fun.
you. Like, yeah, it's pretty fun. But other half was cool. It's just this cute little tap room in Rockefeller Center. Their beers are just amazing. I mean, you've had other half,
I think I've
right?
had
Like a
one.
Mosaic Dream, I think is. You
Yes.
drank
Yes,
that on
I've
the
had
podcast,
Mosaic
right?
Dream. It was incredible.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so
Uh,
jealous you were there.
We drank a couple beers there. We drank one called Forever Ever, which is a double dry hopped IPA. Blue Crab, which is another IPA. That one was phenomenal. Like,
Really.
again, I'm one of those people, like, I feel like sometimes every IPA I drink tastes the same. It's hard to sort of like differentiate it, but that Blue Crab it was just, as soon as my wife drank it, she was like, oh my gosh, this is like really good. It just had these like really
Nice.
amazing orange juice flavors that dominated the flavor profile, but in a great way. Oh, it was so good. And like, to think that those flavors only come from hops, like that's what always blows my mind. Like, this tastes like orange juice, but from
That's
hops.
so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. And then they had a mango smoothie sour, which was really, really good.
You texted me a picture of that one.
Yeah, that one, like, that was the sort of the coat the glass. Even my wife was like, oh, that looks disgusting. Like, after you drank it, the glass just looks so gross.
I was super jealous of that one because we had just talked about beers of summer, and we were talking about like a mango in a beer, and then sure enough, you got one from other half, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, it was good. And then my wife actually drank a triple IPA called Juiced. It was like 10%, pretty legit, but it was very good. Other half was definitely high point of the trip. We actually went there again a day or two later.
Oh, nice. You went twice?
Yeah, because very close is Magnolia Bakery. They're
Okay.
famous for their banana pudding.
Mm,
So we got some of that, and we got some other like desserts from Magnolia Bakery, and then we walked down to the other half and got beers and ate our
Perfect.
desserts. Yeah,
perfect.
perfect day.
Yeah.
And I got some of that Forever Ever to go, so I brought some of that home. So
Ooh, nice.
I have to drink that soon.
How many beers did you end up packing?
So I got a 4-pack of Forever Ever. I got a 4-pack of an IPA from Grimm, and then the Supernature that I drank tonight, a bottle of that from Grimm,
Nice.
and that's all. So 8
Oh, that's not bad.
8 beers in the bottle of beer. Yeah, we were kind of running out of suitcase room.
So when we went to Disney World for the first time, my wife is obsessed with the bar you can go to. The name is gonna elude me. Where like when you order certain drinks, things happen. Trader Sam's. So
Okay.
there's a bar called Trader Sam's, and they serve all of their drinks in collectible glasses.
Okay.
And she had it all planned out. It's actually really cool. I recommend going. It's really difficult to get in because it's just so popular. But I don't know. I don't really want to spoil it. But yeah, things happen when you order drinks, if that makes sense.
It doesn't.
Okay, I'll give you one example. So if you sit at the bar, there's a drink called I think it's the Shrunken Head. And if you order it, it's actually really cool because you're tipsy. And if you're tipsy, they slowly like lower your stool. They're pneumatic basically.
Okay.
And over the course of like 10 minutes, like it's so gradual that it like hits you all at once. They like lower you a foot over like the course of like 10 minutes to like give you the experience that you're shrinking. And
Oh
there's
my gosh.
there's a bunch of stuff like that. But she decided we needed like all these collectible glasses, and I had to get them back because we had packed our suitcases full on the way there. I had to sacrificed like all of my socks and like undershirts, and she's like, I'll get you new undershirts and socks.
Gosh.
She's like, we have to get these home.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it's really funny. So it reminds me of when because that's kind of the thing we did even when we went on our trip to Seattle. We like brought a bunch of beer home. It's like we got to check on an extra empty bag, just like to bring all the beer home.
Yeah, that's why I was like actually kind of disappointed that I didn't bring just an extra piece of luggage just to
that's
to create
the move.
More space. Yeah, I know.
Fill it with like bubble wrap and
yeah, exactly.
And then when you bring it home, you can pack everything up nice and tight.
That's awesome. Well, so the last day we were in New York, we were gonna the morning we had to fly out. We were flying out of the airport at like 6:30 in the morning, so we were gonna have to be at the airport super early. So we were like, well, let's get out of the city on that last day, out of Manhattan, and get up closer to the airport and just stay that last night in the hotel in a hotel close to the airport. So I rented a car, actually. I got it was supposed to be a minivan. It ended up being a 4Runner. I got this 4Runner. Now I got to drive this 4Runner through like Manhattan.
Yikes.
Which is so
stressful.
Crazy. The craziest. Yeah, it was a pretty crazy driving experience, but not too bad. It's kind of funny how when you get into that situation, all the drivers are very aware. You know, like there's nobody driving not paying attention because you can't not pay attention. You know what I mean?
There's so much stuff going on. Yeah.
So it's almost better because everyone is hyper aware driving. And, you know, you just kind of have to move in and out of lanes because there's like big trucks that are parked in the lane because they're, you know, making a delivery and that's the only place they can stop. So there's always this constant like merging out of that left lane and merging back into it, and everyone's just like very used to that, so it just sort of flows. So it's actually not that bad. But yeah, we got out of the city and we took a drive out to across the Brooklyn Bridge, which was cool, to downtown Brooklyn, and went to Evil Twin Brewing. They have a little tap room in downtown Brooklyn. My wife actually made this funny comment. She's like, you know, it's really funny. There's all these like breweries that you have to visit when you're here. You're telling me like I want to go to here and here, and we get to them. They're just these like really small, unassuming tap rooms. And I was like, yeah, but these places are amazing. And it's kind of like, you know, the difference in what we were talking about between Stone and some of these other breweries. Like they're making amazing beer, and you know you can get these beers through some of the specialty like Tavor and Craft Shack and stuff, but they don't have any sort of like really national distribution.
Right.
So it's like enough distribution to like create the hype and create like when I'm there, I want to go to that brewery, or like not like even just the knowledge of that brewery exists that otherwise would just only be locals knowing about it. But they're still very small independent breweries with just small little tap rooms. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, Evil Twin is very interesting. We've talked about their names of their beers. And they're pretty funny. But some of the beers I tried there where there was one called a Pineapple a Day Keeps the Doctor Away.
Nice.
That was a IPA with pineapple added.
Ooh.
We didn't love it.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just, I don't know. Sometimes the hazy IPAs get a little bit of that like sort of throat burning flavor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They can get, for whatever reason, like the hazy IPAs. I don't know what I think it is. Some of those particles, some of those, that yeast, whatever's creating the haze in the beer there. If you get like too much of that, it does cause this sort of burning in your throat. So anyway, that it kind of had that feel, and I think maybe it had something to do with the fact that there was pineapple added too, which made it like a little bit more acidic.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, my wife didn't love that one, but we also got, I have to pull this up because otherwise I will botch these names because they're really long.
Yeah, they give long. All their beer names are like a paragraph.
Okay, this one was called It Was His Birthday and They Still Didn't Care.
Okay, that's sad.
That one, it was a sour. It was a birthday cake sour.
Ooh.
They call it a sour IPA.
Yeah.
So weird when they do that. Evil Twin does this actually every once in a while. Like I had a blue raspberry sour IPA from them, and then this one they call it a sour IPA. I didn't get any like IPA notes to this. Like it just felt like a sour. Yeah, I don't know where they really
that's
get
weird
where they,
that they call it that.
yeah, where they get the IPA from. But But yeah, just some great like vanilla birthday cake notes to this beer. We actually, Martin House made a birthday cake sour a few months ago that I bought a bunch of because it was so good. And they were very similar. Sort of a weird, like it's weird to think of a sour beer with like birthday cake flavors to it, but it works. It works really well. So that was
I
good.
love birthday cakes. I would definitely try that one.
They have their Dumb Fruit series by Evil Twin, which is the smoothie sour series where they do like 3 fruits and like a candy. So I've had one that had like 3 fruits and peach rings, and I don't know. There's all this like they're very gimmicky.
That sounds like a Steven beer.
Yeah. This one was Dumb Fruit 20. This was like their 1-year anniversary of making these Dumb Fruit beers. So it was like the list of fruits in this beer is ridiculous. Hold on, I need to pull it up. Okay. It's this smoothie sour with mango, apple, banana, blueberry, grape, orange, passion fruit, peach, guava, pineapple, strawberry, watermelon, and raspberry.
What?
Yeah, it was like a culmination of all the fruits they had used in that series over this year.
It's too many.
And the ABV is 6.66%. So
Ooh, 666.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. It tasted like a Jamba Juice, straight up, like no joke.
That's crazy. Alcoholic Jamba Juice.
Yeah, it was awesome. The sour I thought was more fun. I had one called Fruit for Thought. It was a blueberry raspberry coconut cream sour that was actually really good. Very
Nice.
well balanced. A nice sort of sour beer with the like creaminess from the coconut with the great berry flavors. That one was really good. They had another one they called a Goza, which was their ET Stay Home series. This is another sort of long running sour series from them. This one's called Royal Treatment. This is another long weird list. It's a blend of pink guava, mango, pineapple, salt, coconut, cocoa, marshmallow, and vanilla.
Whoa.
Yes, it smelled like a guava infused marshmallow. Those were my nose notes.
Nice.
Very sweet smelling, and I don't know. I always have a little bit of issue with using the beer style Goza so loosely.
People throw that term around a lot, don't they?
Yeah, and I don't know whether it's because like it's just a beer, like a sour beer that they use salt in. I think sometimes that just becomes like, oh, that's a Goza.
No, it's a Goza. It has salt. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sour and has salt. Yeah. Anyway, it's just like there's nothing Goza about it to me. It's just another like fruited sour, but it was good. I did like the sort of guava flavors, but definitely the Fruit for Thought I thought was the best sort of balanced like good beer. I also drank a key lime pie sour from them.
Nice.
I thought it was going to be my favorite, and it was actually my least favorite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and only just like I don't know, key lime pie beers. I've had some really good ones and some really bad ones. I just think sometimes it's all about like, I don't know, the balance of the lime, and sometimes it can border on tasting like a kind of like a floor cleaner, kind of that
Okay,
citrus
yeah.
pine sol kind of flavor. So it's just it's just a hard flavor to nail, but it was good. It just was definitely not my favorite. I do have to, they have this menu. The menu up on the wall is like a LED display, so that they can just like change it.
Oh, yeah,
Easily,
that's cool.
right? But so funny is these names are so long that they end up becoming like ticker name. You have to like
They're like
so it's
scrolling.
it's scrolling, and one of them is like, oh my god, it's still going. This is the full name of the beer. This was a collaboration with Greenport Harbor Brewing. I like the name. Oh, it's in Greenpoint? No, Greenport. But we totally need more words in that one for it to be an Evil Twin collaboration. That was the name of the beer.
I hate that. It's
So
so long.
you imagine like this is like ticking across the screen like, oh, it's in Greenport. Like it's just still going, like you're reading a novel.
It seems absurd.
It was so funny. Yeah, we liked that one. Anyway, great beer. That was, I knew Evil Twin was going to be fun because they make some like really fun stuff, and it's like constantly changing, so you kind of never know what you're going to get when you get to the tap room, and that's always fun.
Nice.
You know what I didn't mention is we had a layover on the way there in Tampa, Florida. They had a Cigar City restaurant
You texted me a picture of that
in
too.
the airport. Yeah.
That is so cool.
I was like, oh, I'm so happy we're in Tampa right now. And they had
you ended up drinking some beers there, right?
yeah, so they had all their standards, Florida Man, High Lie. What's their other one?
I can only think of their stout, which is Hunapa or something
Yeah,
like
they
that.
didn't have Hunapa.
Yeah.
They're all their standards. And then they always have something sort of seasonal. And their seasonal, while we were there, was a pineapple tangerine fruited version of High Lie.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so apparently that flavor profile is in the original High Lie of like pineapple tangerine notes, so they just sort of amped those up with actual fruit, and it was very good. So that was a fun, like, I didn't really expect to have a good like beer experience on my way to New York, but ended up having
it was
City
foreshadowing how successful your beer experience is going to be, that you got a special High Lie. And you ended up liking it?
Yeah, it was very good. Very good.
Because I've had High Lie twice, and I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Yeah, I think I told you, like, I had High Lie recently again, and I liked it more this time than I did the first time. I think I had different expectations going into it this time. It is very malty. It's a very malty, sort of old school IPA.
Well, the other thing is, I think if I could get it on tap, I think that'd be a completely different experience, because I think the one I had the first time was kind of old. So, and for a lot of beer styles, it doesn't matter, but for IPAs, it's pretty important to have it fresh.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that last day we spent in Brooklyn was it was a very rainy, drizzly day. We got done at Evil Twin, and we decided we'd drive over to Grimm. I'd never had anything from Grimm. I didn't actually know a whole lot about them, just that it just came highly recommended. So we drove up and found a parking spot, and we walked up, and it's kind of funny. I think this is a COVID thing, but in New York, I think there was like a requirement to have outdoor seating or whatever to stay open.
Oh, okay.
So in the like area of like sort of like the bike lane sidewalk area kind of thing, they built these little outdoor seating areas.
Yeah.
But they're almost so enclosed that it's like indoor seating.
Like defeats the purpose.
Yeah. So anyway, those are more common. So they kind of had that outside of Grimm, like this sort of outdoor seating area that was covered, but it was completely full with people, like a huge group. It was all one group taking up the whole space with like a ton of kids. And it was starting to rain a little harder. Well, I walk in and they're not seating anybody inside. There's not a lot of space in there. It's sort of this like, those places that are like more brewery facility, less tap room.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
It's like the tap room was like afterthought.
It's like an afterthought. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just feel you're in like a warehouse, and they just quickly built a counter. That's basically what it was. So like they didn't have a lot of indoor seating area, and they didn't have any tables out or anything. So there was nowhere to go. Well, while I'm in line, like it just starts to absolutely pour. So my wife and kids are outside, able to, be under this covered seating area, but like there's nowhere to sit there. And luckily my wife and I were on the same wavelength, because she's thinking, oh my gosh, like he's going to get a beer and want to sit and drink this. And like, this is miserable. Well, as soon as I saw it pouring outside, I was like, okay, I'm just going to get some beers to go.
Good job, Steven.
Yeah. So I just like sort of went, okay, that looks good. Oh, there's this IPA. I just kind of picked from two different ends of the spectrum, a sour and an IPA, and just went on my way. So I have yet to try the IPA from there called it's called Wavetable. Apparently that's a kind of a flagship IPA for them. So
oh, cool.
Yeah. So that was kind of my beer drinking experiences. Definitely Other Half and Evil Twin were kind of the two big highlights of the trip.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm just super jealous that you got to drink at those breweries.
Yeah, it was, it's always just cool for me to like actually see where these places are, because I hear so much about the
I know
beers,
they're so
and
like legendary, and then
and I get these beers from Tavour a lot, but it's just cool to actually see the real places, and it's almost how like humble they are, like how small they are.
Yeah, I know it's very like anticlimactic when you actually like walk in. You're like, oh, this is it. This is other half. Like, yeah.
I mean, do you feel like I think we felt that same way with like Fremont, right? Fremont
Yes.
and Rubens,
Yeah.
right? Like,
It's like, oh yeah, it's just a place.
yeah, just a little brewery here, but
They're making an unbelievable beer, but yeah, it's just a
to
place.
us it's like a mecca. Like,
Yeah.
we have to go visit.
And to the locals, it's just like a Saturday afternoon. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Very
that phenomenon is fun. It's really fun though, and I like how if you're into craft beer, you can really augment. Like obviously, you weren't just going to check out breweries, but it's like something you can kind of like add to your trip. Is like to check out the local breweries, which is fun.
For sure. Definitely had pre-planned a few spots that I was like, okay, we can't miss these. Like my list was long at first, but I knew I had to kind of cut it down to.
Yeah.
Because I would have liked to go to Single Cut, but even that, to get out to each of these boroughs, like it's a long trip.
Yeah, and like your poor kids and wife. Well, your wife likes beer, but your poor kids are like, do we really have to go there, Dad? We'll have to do. It's not like if you're dragging me along, because we'll go to every brewery, but
yeah. Well, even the last trip when it was just my wife and I dragged her all the way like deep into the Bronx to go to Gun Hill Brewing, and it's like it's just in this super random spot. Like I mean, public transportation gets you close, but not that close. Like you still got like a mile and a half to walk, and my wife was just like, "Where are you taking me? Like,
where are we going?"
And it was just this little tiny spot, like in a warehouse stuck between like two mechanic shops, and it was just very, very strange, but great beer.
Yeah, hey, that's part of the
That's
adventure.
where all the best beer is being made.
Yeah, part of the adventure is getting there to like the random spot.
Exactly.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, do you have anything else you want to add from your amazing New York beer trip that I'm very jealous of?
I love New York City.
I
love it.
Add it to our bucket list for you and me to go.
Okay.
And
I gotta save up for another like. 10
I know it's expensive, but we can go to all the obscure breweries. We'll do
Gun Hill and Single Cut.
Yeah. I'll walk the mile and a half with you, Steven. No problem.
All right. Thanks.
All right, cool. We can call that an episode. We are available not yet on TikTok.
No,
maybe
yet.
Someday. But we're on Instagram.
We'll make our TikTok debuts
at attenuation.podcast. And you can also reach us at email at contact.attenuation@gmail.com. And this has been episode 66 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Steven.
That's me.
And we were saying cheers, and we'll see you next week for episode 67.
All right, cheers, buddy.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Attenuation, a beer podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram or Facebook for more fun content. Catch you next week. Cheers!